Welcome to your online coffee break, where we discuss bite-sized topics that inspire, educate, and entertain. Here's your host, a software innovator, award-winning marketer, and astronomy and space buff, Chuck Fields.
Hello, thanks for joining us today for your online coffee break. Today I'd like to welcome to our show my special guest, Jodie Meschuk. Jodie has just released her book called Speak Up Buttercup, How I Brought My Son Back from Autism. This inspiring story is a journey of a mother learning to listen closely to her intuition. The message of her book will inspire and empower families to speak up for the children they love, even when it seems like no one is listening. Jodie is with us today to discuss her book and her incredible journey. Thanks for joining me today, Jodie.
Thank you for having me. Honored to be here.
Oh, my pleasure. Listen, I was really impressed. I learned about you several months ago. I guess I started following your Instagram account, and I heard about your book and heard about your story. I was wondering if you could share a little bit more about your story with our listeners.
Yes. So I would say this kind of, my story really began back when I first became pregnant with my first son, Lincoln. So that's kind of where, the book is about our journey. Mm-hmm. And I just remember being a first-time mom, kind of just wondering, what are my value systems surrounding health? What do I believe in? Well, who do I want to believe? There's so much information out there. And I felt like I was doing all the right things. I felt like I was doing all the, conventional stuff that we are told, mm-hmm. and getting all the things that, the baby stores and all that good stuff. But Lincoln was just, I feel like he kind of was born with a little crutch in his gut, I like to say. His gut just wasn't as healthy as it could be. And so I really feel like our story began through his first year of life. It really began to help me understand more about his body, what I could do for him. And it took almost 2 years, up until he was about 2.5 years old, for me to really feel like I had a foothold on understanding, mm-hmm. health with my child. He went through a lot of gut issues. He had a lot of ear infections, a lot of the things that we actually see that are very common in children today. Mm-hmm. I thought they were common. That's what I was told. That's often what I was told in the doctor's office, that, oh, don't worry about it, it's just normal. And so I really just trusted what I was told. And as he began to get a little bit older, I saw just his health decline a little bit more and a little bit more. I still didn't quite have my confidence yet in order to really understand what I was doing, who I should believe or not believe, and where I should get my resources and things like that. Right. And right around age 2, he was diagnosed with autism. And that was, I think, really the turning point for me. When that happened, I kind of look at it as this buildup, his first couple of years. I was sort of this roller coaster ride of emotions, and it was up and down in terms of what can I do, what can't I do, and is there something wrong with him? Is it normal? Is this just going to go away? Mm-hmm. All of these emotions and feelings. And then when he was finally given that diagnosis of autism, I think that's when I finally was like, okay, this is something we need to really look at. It was a very obviously emotional time for my husband and I. It's our first child. I had just given birth to our second son, so I was a mess of hormones, as I'm sure you can imagine. Yes. If you have a spouse, or anybody that has a spouse. But it was at that moment that something clicked inside of me, and something just said, Jodie, there's something you could do. And regardless of the diagnosis, and I know that a lot of us can get very sort of tunnel vision when it comes to a diagnosis, whether it's autism, or somebody could be diagnosed with lupus or Lyme's disease or Absolutely. Diabetes. There's a lot of common things out there today. So whether or not it's that, I think what happens in us is we have a turning point. There's something that it's like the straw that breaks the camel's back, and we go, okay, I'm going to wake up now. And I feel like when he was diagnosed, that is the moment that I woke up. And then I really feel like that's when our story began full force in terms of his healing, and just finding anything that I could do to help him live really the best life that he could live.
Mm-hmm. See, I think that's wonderful, and I do love what attracted me to, I guess even the name that you had on your Instagram account is the Speak Up Buttercup, and that to me is so empowering, and I can really relate. We have a son of our 4 sons. We have our youngest son was diagnosed with autism really just a couple years ago. He's older now. I mean, he's about 16 years old right now, but it's the same kind of thing where we thought, I don't want to be told, oh, there's nothing you can do.
Right.
we wanted to see what can we do, and I don't want to get too personal, but I mean, we jump from this type of psychologist or whatever that say there's really nothing you can do to finding the right therapist, the ones who said, here's what we can do to really address this. I guess I admire that strength quality that you had for Speak Up Buttercup, because it is certainly easy to feel overwhelmed, helpless when finding out news like this. You described what made you decide to speak up. What made you decide to write this book on that topic?
So what's interesting is, way back when he was, my son is 10 now. Mm-hmm. So even in his first year of life, as I was going through all of those little trials and tribulations, even something as what, I look back now and I go, oh, it's something as little as an ear infection. But back then that was really big to me. And that's really big to new parents. Especially when they keep happening and you're doing all the things you're told to do and doing all the antibiotics and all these things. And I just thought, gosh, I should really be like writing some of this stuff down, sort of documenting it. So even way back at that point, I had in my mind, this may be of use for somebody in the future. What we're going through, what I'm experiencing, what I'm learning, and how I'm beginning to empower myself little by little may be of value to somebody in the future. So I honestly feel like in my brain, this started a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And it's always been something that I have toyed with. But some things that have held me back, as you can imagine, are, putting yourself out there.
Yes.
And putting your son's story out there and things like that. So I feel like I kind of started this process 9 years ago and kept coming back to it and kept writing some things down. And then finally, I think we just got to a place where I have seen over the last 10 years that nothing has changed. And I think that has frustrated me so much that in an age of modern medicine and in an age where we throw so much money at things and research and all of this stuff, the autism epidemic is still growing, and that concerns me. And nobody really has the answer. I'm not even saying that I have the answer.
Right.
I just know that what we have done has helped my son significantly, and he has now lost that diagnosis of autism. He is, in mainstream education and has really just, his body has improved, his health has improved. And I just think that at this time in my life, I felt like if I don't do this, if I don't share our story, there may be somebody out there who really needs that. And even if it's just one person. And so that's sort of how I started to come around to just getting the courage to do it. It has obviously taken a lot of work. But I also don't want to lose those memories. I'm a terrible scrapbooker. I'm a terrible person at keeping. I'm a total free spirit, and I can barely keep my calendar straight. But I don't want to lose what we went through, and I don't ever want to forget that. And I want him to also know years from now what he did and what we did as a family.
See, I think that's so important too. You mentioned the sort of autism epidemic, and that was one of the things that I thought too. I thought as we look around, it definitely seems to be growing. And I'm not sure if there's a lot of places out there that really admit that, because I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm finding more and more parents, and I don't know if it's because we're focused on it more now, but we're even seeing TV shows like Atypical and other shows that are addressing that. And then we're even getting police officers getting trained on how to handle autism kids, and I'm thinking, this is crazy. Where's our society going that we're not addressing this? And that's why I think your book can help. Obviously results may differ, but I think it's so neat. And if I can, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that one of the tools that you use is clean eating. Is that correct? Or
so in like that time period of when he was diagnosed, I remember that there was a lot of, and there still is a lot of chatter about autism, and it seems very divisive.
Right.
And if there's one thing that I could share with people too, it's that we need to stop being so divisive about it, because we obviously are going to all have our different opinions, but what does somebody have to lose by just doing some healthy things? We have nothing to lose by it, nothing at all. And yes, everyone's results are going to be different because everybody has a different body and everybody has a different makeup in their body and a different, results and reactions to things. But everybody's going to benefit by just making healthier choices.
Right.
And so when I first started researching, the very first thing that I came across talked about the health of the gut and the brain. And I had no experience with that whatsoever. In fact, remember, up until then, I was doing everything the doctor said. I was taking the antibiotics. I was doing all the whatever. And it just made sense to me. And so that's what we did first, was we targeted the gut. We cleaned out the gut. We did simple things like probiotics and removing gluten and removing dairy and slowly moving towards just eating real food. And it made such a difference. And if there's one thing and one place people can start, it's there.
Was that hard? Because I know there's a lot of kids that are very particular about their food choices.
Yeah.
How hard was that?
It was very hard. It's interesting because I know that I can see how, looking from the outside in, it's like, oh, they're doing great now. It must have been so easy. But a lot of times nobody ever knows what goes on behind the scenes, right? Behind closed doors. And, at the time, my son was eating only McDonald's chicken nuggets and yogurt. And that was his diet. And that was it. And I could not get him to eat anything else. And he was addicted to milk and he was addicted to gluten. And I knew he was, because that's all his body craved.
Right.
And it's kind of like a drug addict. When your body craves that, it's bad. And so it was very hard. We had to go through a couple of day period. I'm not going to, it was a very trying couple days of him just not eating anything at all until he would slowly begin to try and eat some other things. And I had to sort of hide stuff in things and sweeten things with honey and just do all the tricks. But honestly, it's just grit. You have to just stick to it and keep doing it. It's going to be a little bit different. It's going to look different for a 2-year-old than it's going to look for a 16-year-old. Right. For a 16-year-old, it's more having a conversation with them and helping educate them and helping them mentally see what's going on and having them understand control of their body. With a 2-year-old, I'm the parent and I'm telling him what he needs to eat, and it's going to look different. But it was hard. It was hard, but it was so worth it.
See, I'm with you 100% on that, because it was about, I think 3 years ago, where I was working with a personal trainer who happened to be a nutritionist, and she introduced me to the concept of clean eating. And I remember just me as an adult, first couple of weeks, my nickname was the Doughboy. I would eat bread all the time and all that stuff. Then I went on this clean eating kick, and my wife, God bless her, she helped me prepare the food and everything. But oh my gosh, the changes were so significant for how you feel, how your body responds. And now, you look at processed food and it's like, why am I eating this stuff? That is not good stuff. So anyway, I just commend you for that. And I think your book is just going to be, I'm praying that it falls in the right hands on that. Now, was this your first book ever?
This is my first, printed book ever. I've written a lot of resources and, things like that. But this is the first book. And I feel like it's definitely the right place that I needed to start in, because this has been my life for 10 years. And it's been, it's been such a big part of our family. It's the first one, and I'm excited and just praying it does get into the right hands and that it's meant for the people who really need it. And it's not just for autism. So I think what also people should understand is that autism in many ways acts in the body like an autoimmune reaction or autoimmune disease. with the inflammation and the gut inflammation and just how the health looks in the body. And so what we see today is we see a massive epidemic of autoimmune all over across the board. Mm-hmm. So this is a very helpful book for anybody who suffers from any type of autoimmune or who just wants to feel empowered and know where to start, or to maybe just clean out their gut. It's really, truly for anybody.
That's fantastic. And how can people find out more about you and your book?
So they can go to speakupbuttercup.com, mm-hmm. which is a great place. And then also on social media, Instagram is official Speak Up Buttercup, which is a funny story behind that. There's like one lady that has an Instagram handle that's Speak Up Buttercup, and she has like one picture on it. And I'm like, oh, so it's official Speak Up Buttercup. And then Facebook is Speak Up Buttercup.
Excellent. Jodie, I wish you the best of luck with your book. I want to thank you for just taking time out of your schedule to join us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Online coffee break.
Well, I really enjoyed our conversation today with Jodie. I hope you did too. If you'd like to learn more about Jodie, you can visit her website, speakupbuttercup.com. I want to thank her for joining us today. I want to thank your audience for tuning in today as well. If you'd like to leave us a comment, we'd love to hear from you. Just visit our website, onlinecoffeebreak.com. Leave a comment there. You can call us at 317-862-4700. Leave a comment for us there. Who knows, we just might play it on the air. You can also follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Online Coffee Break. We'd also love it if you'd rate us on iTunes or share this episode with your friends. Thanks again for joining us today. See you next time. God bless.